Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer was born on May 21st, 1960. His mother, Joyce Dahmer, and his father, Lionel Dahmer, divorced when he was 18 years old and may have caused psychological stress, which may have made his thoughts turn into actions. By most accounts, Dahmer had a normal childhood. However, he became withdrawn and uncommunicative as he got older. Dahmer was a happy child until he was about 6 years old, when he had to have a surgery to correct a double hernia, which affected him and changed him forever. Dahmer felt alone and that he was lacking in self-confidence. Jeffrey became close with a boy named Lee and grew very fond of one of his teachers. He gave his tadpoles to Lee, and Jeffrey snuck into his garage and killed the tadpoles with motor oil. Dahmer claimed that his compulsions to necrophilia, the obsession to corpses, and murder had begun at age 14. Dahmer's father said his posture and the general way in which he carried himself changed radically between his 10th and 15th years. The loose, slim boy disappeared and was replaced by a strangely rigid and inflexible figure. Dahmer's father also said Jeffrey would ride around with plastic garbage bags and collect the remains of dead animals for his own private cemetery. He would strip the flesh from the bodies of these protrusive roadkills and even mount a dog's head on a stake. In high school, Dahmer had average grades, he played tennis, and he worked on the school newspaper. Dahmer was completely unmotivated when he finished high school, and his mom drove him to Ohio State University for college, and he stayed drunk the entire semester and failed. His father told him that he had to join the army, and then he proceeded to be discharged because he was drinking too much. Jeffrey then moved in with his grandmother, and he was soon asked to move out because of his drinking problem and a child molest offense.
Dahmer committed his first murder in the summer of 1978. At this time, he was only 18 years old and his parents had just divorced. He picked up a hitchhiker named Stephen Hicks and offered to take him back to his father's house to drink a beer. When Hicks decided to leave, Dahmer hit him in the back of the head with a 10-pound dumbbell. He then buried the body in the backyard and admitted to killing him because he didn't want him to leave. He was given a sentence of 5 years on probation, 1 year at a work release camp, and required to register as a sex offender. 9 years passed before he killed again. He committed 4 more murders in 1990 and 3 in 1991. By the age of 31, he began killing around 1 person each week. Only 1 day after moving into his new apartment, he was arrested for drugging and sexually assaulting a 13-year-old boy. The time span in which he killed lasted about 13 years, from 1978 through 1991. He was caught in his home on July 22, 1991, where police found heads, torsos, hearts, and other body parts of young males. At his trial, it was determined that he was sane when he committed the 17 murders of Stephen Hicks, Stephen Tuomi, James Dockster, Richard Jurano, Anthony Sears, Raymond Smith, Eddie Smith, Ernest Miller, David Thomas, Curtis Straughter, Ernal Lindsay, Tony Hughes, Konarak Synthasamphone, Matt Turner, Jeremy Weinberger, Oliver Lacey, and Joseph Breithoft. It was ultimately determined that he murdered all of these men in the form of rape, dismemberment, necrophilia, or cannibalism. The nature of his crimes categorized him as a serial killer.
Dahmer was able to withstand trial, and he pleaded not guilty due to insanity. His defense attorney, Gerald P. Boyle, said that the necrophilia urges were so strong he could not control his actions. Necrophilia is the sexual attraction to corpses. Dr. Boleyn was one of the people to testify for Dahmer in his trial, and he was the one who determined in Dahmer's psychiatric analysis the necrophilia urges he was experiencing. The verdict against Dahmer was guilty, and he was charged with molestation, 17 murder charges, later changed to 15, and 937 years in jail, and he was sent to the Columbia Correctional Institute in Portage, Wisconsin. In prison, Dahmer was assigned to work with 2 other prisoners, white supremacist murderer Jesse Anderson and schizophrenic murderer Christopher Scarver. When the guards returned, they found that Scarver had crushed Dahmer's skull and fatally beat Anderson.
Your Honor, it is over now. This has never been a case of trying to get free. I didn't ever want freedom. Frankly, I wanted death for myself. This was a case to tell the world that I did what I did not for reasons of hate. I hated no one. I knew I was sick or evil or both. Now I believe I was sick. The doctors have told me about my sickness, and now I have some peace. I know how much harm I have caused. I tried to do the best I could after the arrest to make amends, but no matter what I did, I could not undo the terrible harm I have caused. I feel so bad for what I did to those poor families, and I understand their rightful hate. I decided to go through this trial for a number of reasons. One of the reasons was to let the world know that these were not hate crimes. I wanted the world in Milwaukee, which I deeply hurt, to know the truth of what I did. I didn't want unanswered questions. All the questions have now been answered. I wanted to find out just what it was that caused me to be so bad and evil. But most of all, Mr. Boyle and I decided that maybe there was a way for us to tell the world that if there are people out there with these disorders, maybe they can get some help before they end up being hurt or hurting someone. I think the trial did that.
In Wisconsin today, Jeffrey Dahmer died. He was murdered in the prison where he was sent in 1991 for murdering 17 men and boys. In 1991, the revelation that he had eaten or otherwise defiled some of his victims revolted the nation. His death may not be as shocking. Here's ABC's Aaron Hayes.
Jeffrey Dahmer met his death this morning while working as a janitor, cleaning a prison bathroom. Another inmate is suspected of beating him to death at this prison in Wisconsin. Authorities here say Dahmer died of massive head injuries. A second inmate injured in the attack is in critical condition.
What was found at the scene was a bloody broom handle. That's all I know.
To many, including Dahmer's own attorney, it comes as little surprise.
I wasn't shocked because I thought that Jeffrey Dahmer would end up this way.
At his sentencing, families of victims had lashed out at him, crying, threatening. Many today said even his death brings little consolation.
The hurt is worse now because he's not suffering like we are.
Other family members, in an odd twist, hope to gain from Dahmer's death. An attorney representing 8 of the families today pushed police to release Dahmer's belongings so they can be auctioned off. On the list, one of Dahmer's refrigerators where victims' remains were found, and an 80-quart kettle. The families hope to make at least $100,000 from the sale.
We don't consider that there's been closure on the Dahmer chapter episode as far as the victim families are concerned until there's compensation.
Jeffrey Dahmer died on November 28, 1994.